All right. So today's going to be a kind of a different podcast. We usually do, focus on dental. It's a dental hygiene podcast, basically, and blog. But I wanted to get in talk about cycling because cycling is my hobby, and I know you guys also cycle too. So we'll get into how cycling helps our life in general, how it helps our dental profession, and so on and so forth. But just to get started, I want to just ask each person, just a 30-second or so background of your dental background, basically. So, who wants to go first, Jen?
Yeah, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I am a clinical dental hygienist. I've been doing so for 13 years now, believe it or not. Going over a decade, that dates me. I hesitate to say that. No, but having clinical experience has opened a lot of other doors in a corporate regard. I have consulted for other companies in the past. I am a team trainer. My son is, they can see me, but I'm a team trainer for Perio Protect, so I use my clinical expertise in training other dental teams as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Love what I do and keep doing it every day.
Lewis?
Yeah, I am. I'm the director of sales and marketing in the U.S. and Canada for American Eagle Instruments. Live in Dallas, so unlike my two cohorts on this podcast, I get to cycle year-round most of the time. They don't get to. So.
It's not fair.
Lucky dog.
Yes, indeed. I've been in my position for a little over 4 years. I am not a career dental guy. I actually came over from surgical. I spent about 20 years in surgical urology and gynecology before coming over into the dental space.
All right. In my background, I've been a hygienist since 2007. Before that, I was in the Air Force for about 10 and a half years. No dental or medical background there. 2011, I designed the cone adapter, which is a product that attaches the isolate mouthpieces to the HVE valve. I've been selling that since then. I started this blog last year, markrdh.com, and I do product reviews, interviews, and things like that. So I've been doing that for since January 2014, and that's my general background. I work clinical full time, 4 days a week, hoping to be 1 day a week at some point in my life and do other stuff, but not there yet. But all right, so I want to start just to kind of get a flavor of what kind of cycling you guys do now. Anybody?
I'll go first since Jen went first a minute ago. I would say I'm probably 90% road cycling. There's a terrific trail just about 1.5 miles from the house. I do ride my mountain bike right out of the driveway down to an awesome trail here in Frisco, Texas. Great for cross training to mix it up every now and again, and I love the mountain bike. I should do it more because the mountain bike really more than the road bike. I feel like I'm 12 years old again when I get on it. But the majority of the miles that I put in are on my road bike.
I'll go next, Jen. Right now, I'm like 100% road this year. I think it's going to be road pretty much. Last year, 2013, I started racing again, mountain bikes, and I was riding the road bike for kind of like cross training. And then last year, I joined the club, and I've been basically, last year was like 90% road. And I feel myself going road to the road, so, but I'll always keep my mountain bike. But right now, it's this year 100% road, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun hearing the balance there, how it transitions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of in the same boat. I started out with road, and then the last year or two, I've done more mountain biking because I wanted to get faster on the hill climbs. But also, I've got a daughter who's 8 now, and she's on a cycling team, and they only do mountain biking. And so for that purpose, I've done more on the mountains. But there was a time where I did a lot more road biking or road cycling for races and other things. So I try and mix it up, though.
Mm-hmm.
Have either of you two ever ridden on the track?
Never.
So there's an awesome velodrome. There's an awesome velodrome here in Frisco, Texas. There's a lot of racing that goes on out there every weekend during the racing season, which is pretty much summertime. And I did take a track class to get certified because it's a different bike. It's a much smaller crank, and the track is really, really, really fun with those big steep walls and everything. And there's no brakes on those bikes. It's a totally different deal. Really, really fun. And I haven't done it since I took the class that they require you to take to learn how to ride a track bike. But it's fun. I would like to do that more.
It looks pretty cool, just from watching it on on TV. Do they do it's pretty much short distance though, right? It was like sprinting pretty much, no? Or
oh God, you know what? I don't even know it well enough to know what the various distances are. I think there's probably shorter and then longer competitions.
Yeah.
Part of the class we took was we did a race at the end, and there was I don't remember how many cyclists, maybe 6 or 7 bikes going at the same time. It gets a little crowded. It's a little nerve-wracking out there, yeah, with riding on a bike that has no brakes and the cranks are always spinning.
Right. Yeah. No freewheel. Yeah.
No freewheel. The only way to slow down is to try to put a little backwards pressure on the forward rotation, and it takes some getting used to.
Sounds dangerous.
I think it probably is a little bit more dangerous than our traditional road bikes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not having brakes means more dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So do you do pretty much long distance, Louis, or do you do any short distances on the road bike? Like, what's your average distance, you guys?
Yeah, I think it's all about what kind of time I have available to me. During the week, I'm ecstatic to get out for an hour. When I'm not traveling, if I can go get an hour at 5 p.m. on a perfectly good Tuesday, that would be awesome. But I belong to a club team here in Frisco also, the Shawnee Trail Cycling Club. We're over 150 members, and we've got a really big Saturday and Sunday group that goes out. This club cycles 5 days a week, and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights with lights is totally awesome. A big lit up, moving peloton down the road is something I had never done until I joined this club a year or so ago, and yeah, cycling at night in a big group is a lot of fun.
That does.
Oh, and my distance this morning, this morning I got in a good 50-mile ride this morning. I didn't have so much time yesterday. Was only able to ride 30. But yeah, those are good. I'm happy with those kind of distances on a weekend.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Jen? Long distance? Short?
I really like about 30 or 40 miles. And, I'm similar to Lewis, that it just comes down to how much time that there is available. Doing a lot of different things, being very active. It's all about that's for sure. But I definitely like the 50-mile distance. A good workout gives a good challenge, and when you get done, you don't feel like you're going to. So it's a good balance. I like the 50-mile. That's my favorite distance to ride.
I was always kind of a short distance person, maybe 25, 30 mile. But last year, I was telling Jen that I did a couple of 50s, and this year I want to do a metric century, at least one this year with the club. So, but it's more of a pacing thing. I was telling Jen, my problem is I try to keep up with a group that I shouldn't be with. And so I gotta pace myself on those long rides, and I'll blow up sometimes.
Well, don't be thinking that a metric century is like too far for you or whatever. The first 100-mile ride I ever did, the longest ride I did previous to that was about 36, and this was right when I got into cycling. And if you're doing 40 miles, you can do 100 miles.
Yeah.
But you don't. I hear what you're saying. You can't be racing for 100 miles and going all out, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because when I used to race, my races were like mountain bike races are always about hour and 20, hour and a half. So you can go at a pretty decent pace at that time. But when you start hitting like 2.5 hours or 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hour rides, you gotta slow down.
Well, hey, there's nothing wrong with stopping and getting off your bike and having a PB&J.
Yeah.
And doing that every 25 miles. When I go long distances, there's always rest stops. Even on our club rides, there's always a rest stop.
Mm-hmm.
There's always bathroom breaks, and they're scheduled. Like on our ride, this morning, on a 52-mile ride, we know the 2 gas stations that we always stop at on this particular route that we go, and the gas station loves it because we're all buying Gatorade or buying power bars or whatever, and we're a welcome visitor on a quiet Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's never my long distance rides are never in the saddle the whole time.
Yeah. So let's move on to one more question. Have you guys tried bike commuting? Do you guys commute to work ever? Or have you tried that in the past? No? Jen?
Lewis, I'd really like to see you commute to work on your bike.
Yeah, Montana's are really far away from Dallas.
Not me. That's the problem. Yeah. Well, for you, it doesn't work, I guess.
No.
I bike commuted for a long time, because I used to race in the 90s, and then I got away from racing. I kind of got burned out on it. And I basically just rode, casually for years and years and years. And I did a lot of bike commuting. But then I decided to get back into more serious biking again in 2013. I kind of got away from the commuting. It's kind of a pain sometimes, just sweat management, going to work, dealing with that, and like being at work, and then you think like, is it gonna rain on the way home? And you're always thinking about it. I don't know. I kind of stopped.
Yeah, there's a lot of planning involved. Yeah. I've commuted to work for a couple years, and I actually really loved it. I didn't love how much time it took me to get ready and then get ready again for work. But you're right, the whole sweat management, there is a definite certain procedures that you follow.
Yeah, exactly.
All about the procedures.
Like having extra clothes at work, and all that.
I would imagine if you had a shower at work, it would make things a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually did at one of the offices, and I used to fill in at a couple offices, and I was excited when I'd go and fill in the office that was 14 miles from my house, because I knew that was my workout, and man, I was going to crank it out, and it was just this time trial. And and I tried to leave at a certain time and cross my fingers that I'd get on the right green light schedule, because I'm riding on roads that are driven on. But first time I showed up, and one of the doctors that hadn't met me yet, he was working at that office, and turns out that he would ride in the criterium, and so it became a really relationship builder with that doctor, because we always had something to talk about, not teeth, but
right, bikes,
yeah. So I loved commuting, loved it. I don't do as much now, but
I commuted in 2008. I worked in Boston for 6 months. And I was living like an hour. It was like an hour and a half commute to drive with traffic and everything. So one day the first week or two, when I was driving, I was in traffic, and I'm thinking, and I went to work, and then I left work, an hour and a half again. So it was like a 3-hour round trip. Then I would go to the gym. So I'm like, I was gonna bring my bike to work. So it was the exact same time. It was as fast on the bike as it was driving. So I just drove like the first hour with no traffic. Got to the outside of Boston. I parked my truck, and I rode like 6 or 7 miles. Some days it was 12 miles. Depends where you park. And I would be as fast on the bike. So it was. And I missed very few days that year because that year I pushed it with the rain. It didn't matter. It was a couple of times I went home and I just got soaked, but I didn't care. But at that point,
Yeah.
You reduce your carbon footprint too.
Exactly.
Yeah, no kidding. I always wondered that if I rode faster than the speed limit, if I would get pulled over for a ticket.
Right.
Technically, yes. Technically, you could.
Yeah.
By definition, you're a motorist out there, according to traffic laws.
I did get, a motorcycle cop did actually pull me over, but it's because one of my lights, it just ran out, and so he stopped and gave me a battery. So I was glad it was a battery and not a ticket, because I was going pretty fast.
I had a motorcycle cop pull me over. I was riding by myself last weekend, and I got pulled over last weekend for rolling through a stop sign here in my neighborhood. He gave me a warning.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they expect you to follow the laws.
I get that, but
to Boise because for a fact you can roll through a stop sign on a bike. Those
well, I might have been going a little faster than a roll, to be honest.
Oh. I gotcha. Okay.
See, in Boston though, my first week riding in Boston, I stopped at a red light, and there were like 15 other bikes with me, like just riding, commuting to work, whatever. And there was a cop standing there, and all the bikes went through the red light, and it was expected, and the cop didn't even blink an eye. So I started going through the red lights, too. So I mean, I would look, of course, I wouldn't just go, but I mean, the cop was just normal. He just keep going, So it was breaking the rules, but nobody cared. But right?
Well, the best thing is that riding home, commuting, you get to know the other commuters, on your way home, and there are some that, like myself, that might take that as an opportunity for a little mini race and a competition with the other cyclists, and it just gets pretty amazing when you pass someone who has a fancier, more expensive bike than you. You just pass them and try and look like you're not trying hard to beat them. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Yeah. Good morning. Yeah. You dying inside.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something else about. I don't consider the Dallas area to be a cycle-friendly area. It's not, and everything's bigger in Texas, right? I mean, everybody has big trucks and big SUVs and whatever, and there's definitely safer places to ride. And if you're out there on your bike and you're blowing through stop signs and blowing through red lights, that's one of those things that, drivers take exception to that. In a road rage situation, the bike loses 100% of the time, and so it's another reason why, despite my transgression last weekend, it's another reason why, for the most part, we try to abide by the laws. When I'm with my team, my cycling club team, it is very, very rigid rules. I mean, all traffic laws are 100% obeyed because a couple of these guys sit on the city council and they lobby on our behalf, and in return they promise these people, that to put up bike signs on this road and in this area, and this area, and this area. In exchange, they promise that the people in the club will be good. We'll follow the laws and do the things we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think having one bike roll through a stop sign, that's one thing, but having 20 roll through a stop sign, that's another thing. Yeah.
Well, if it's I technically y'all should have come to a stop, but at least down here it's not a bike by bike. The peloton is considered a car. It should all move together.
Yeah, exactly. I was commuting to work one day in Boston, this is in '08, and normally I keep about 3 feet from car doors, the parking, parked on the side. But it was a lot of traffic, so I had to I was real tight. I had no space, and I saw this old lady sitting in her car, and I saw her eyes in the mirror. So I figured she saw me, I saw her eyes looking at me. So I was okay, I'm good. So I kept going. She opened the door on me, and I hit it. I couldn't stop in time, and I smashed into her door, and I fell into her lap. She was sitting on the driver's side, and she didn't say a word. I was like, oh, because I hit pretty hard, and I fell in her lap. And I was just checking my bike because I had to get to work, So I was like checking my bike. My front wheel is warped, but it's still rolled. My hand's bleeding. I'm all like cut up in my hand, and I just turned to her and I said, "Don't worry about it," and I just kept going.
You didn't go through her side windshield?
No.
Side window?
No. I mean, I was going too fast to stop completely, but I slowed down somewhat. But yeah, I've been hit 3 times. Yeah, in the car, but
Really?
3 times?
luckily, yeah, 3 times. Yeah, I got hit in Germany. I was stationed in Germany. Somebody just nicked me. It was kind of a small thing. One time I was doing an intersection. Somebody came into my lane, and her mirror like hit me and pushed me right into the sidewalk. Again, it was an old lady again. It's always an old lady, it seems like. And I looked back at her because she pushed me into the sidewalk, and I came back onto the street, and I looked back at her, and she was like in shock, and I just waved and said, "Don't worry about it, I'm fine," But yeah, so it can be dangerous out there, but to me, like the nice thing about club rides, I feel like you're very visible in a big pack. And to me, it just feels way safer out there, being in a pack.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Even when I do one of these night rides and everybody's got a big headlight on the front and blinking red lights on the back, we're pretty lit up. We're a big rolling lit up. We're very bright. Everybody can see us for sure.
Yeah. All right, so I want to get into the next topic, which to me is like the most interesting, I think, is just like your story on how you got into cycling. So start with that. Jen or Lewis, you can go. Jen, how you got into cycling, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, probably about 10 years ago, my husband decided that he wanted to get into cycling, and I knew nothing about the sport. And I didn't understand why he wanted to spend over $1,000 on a bicycle. So he's a very smart man, because through the power of suggestion, he wanted to get me involved.
Oh no!
Oh, we lost her. Hold on. I want to have her come back on. Let's see.
That was hilarious. She just dropped off.
Yeah. Oh,
There she is.
All right.
Can you still? I don't know what happened. It just kind of closed.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're back.
Okay. Well, my screen looks totally different right now, but
You might have lost your internet signal for a sec.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So we were big on running a lot of races, and I decided that wasn't enough, and so I wanted to do triathlon. And so through the course of getting involved in triathlons, I decided that I needed a road bike. And through training through that, I went from a sprint triathlon to doing a 70.3 Ironman. And the rest is kind of history. So the both of us would go on a date, and the date was a 50-mile ride or something. A lot of our friends were wondering what we were up to. But running around in spandex and crazy shoes and crazy outfits, right? But yeah, that's how I got involved, and never looked back. So, Lewis, how did you get involved?
Yeah, as for me, so one of my best buddies that lives down in the Houston area asked me if I was interested in joining him on an MS-150 benefit ride, a big benefit ride that benefits the Multiple Sclerosis Society. This particular ride, which goes from Houston to Austin, is one of the biggest MS-150s in the world. attracting over 14,000 cyclists. It's something else. And it's 180 miles. When people, by the way, as an aside, when people hear MS 150, they think, oh, 150-mile ride. The reason it's called MS 150 is when these bicycle benefit rides were developed, the minimum fundraising requirement was $150. So that's why they're called MS 150. This particular ride is 180 miles. And so my buddy Ed down in Houston happened to own 2 road bikes, and we were together. And a few months before the ride, he gave me his spare bike. He's a few inches taller than me. This was not a perfectly fitting bike, but we pulled the bars back and moved the seat up, and we made it work. And I went out and bought a couple things that I needed, namely, clipless pedals and those kind of things. And as I had mentioned to you earlier, that the longest training ride I did in advance of this 180-mile ride, over the course of 2 days, by the way, was about 35, 36 miles. And so I speak from experience on that. The first day of this ride is 100 miles. And Ed was a serious cyclist at the time. We didn't stick together at all, and I told him, don't worry about me, I'll be fine, and I'm just going to pace myself. And I was in shape, but I was in shape as far as going to the gym, and this is a totally different in shape situation. So anyway, that was 13 years ago. I finished the ride. It was absolutely fantastic. It was wonderful. One of my sales reps that I managed at the time had MS, which for me just kind of made it personal and meaningful, and so I kind of dedicated the ride to her, and we raised some money, and it was all kind of cool. But after the ride, I had to give this bike back, so then I went shopping. I had to go shopping. Nice. And that's how it started. I've never raced. Technically, I've never raced my bike, but long distance endurance cycling, I just kind of got hooked from that one cool experience 13 years ago.
For me, it was a very slow transition. It kind of started back. It was kind of a long story, but it started back when I was maybe like 17, 18. My dad's friend started getting into cycling at the age of like maybe 42 or something. So I used to see him fly by the house all the time, and he lost a lot of weight. And so I was that seems pretty interesting. I grew up liking, dirt bikes, and I raced motocross when I was 19. So that was my thing. And so I saw him. I was that's pretty interesting. So my dad bought me. He had a used Peugeot road bike. It was an old bike. He fixed it up and he got it for me. And at that time I read a Greg LeMond's book. He had a book out around that time about his background and cycling tips and all that. I read the book. I rode that Peugeot 10 miles. I was so out of shape, even at that age. 10 miles was a killer for me.
Yeah.
I think I rode it like maybe 2 or 3 times. And I got a saddle sore, like really bad. I couldn't sit down for like 3 days.
That's what happens when you wear underwear.
Exactly. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I put it away. I didn't really get back into it. I raced motocross when I was 19. Broke my collarbone, of course. And then I joined the Air Force at 19. I went to Germany. I got to Germany, and in my head, I'm thinking I want to try to get back into motocross, But it was just too difficult there. It wasn't, the same. Of course, cycling in Europe is huge.
Right.
And mountain biking at the time was huge. It was getting popular like crazy in '92. And then I said, okay, I'll just get like a mountain bike. It's kind of like a dirt bike, the same kind of feeling. Because to me, as a teenager, the idea of running or endurance just seemed boring and stupid, And cause I played baseball and stuff and basketball, but I didn't, so I got a mountain bike, and then for me, like over time, it was a slow process to actually enjoy the cardio part of it. because to me it was like a side thing. Like I'll get in shape so I can enjoy the bike. I didn't see it as like the endurance part of it as being the fun part of it. It took me years to like it, like years, and then I got a road bike in Germany. I started doing running. I did a couple of races, and it just slowly, I just started to love it. And then I raced a couple times in Germany. I raced in Oklahoma in '97 all year. I did mountain bike racing primarily, but I wanted to race every week, so they didn't have a race every week. So I found road races. I found runs, 10K runs, anything. I just want to do something every week. So then I got burned out on the racing part because I was just doing, today's my sprint day, today's my whatever day, and I got burned out. Then for the longest time, I just basically had like casual bikes, hybrid bikes, bike commuting, that kind of stuff, because I was so burnt out from the racing. Then in 2013, like I was saying, I got back into it, and I just love it more and more. Like the more I do it, to me it's like meditation almost, being out there on the bike. But yeah, so that's how I got into it. So I went from basically motocross to that, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, out on the road riding, you can solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
It's so nice. So nice.
And being in Germany, it was I don't know, the cycling. They love soccer and cycling. That's what they like. And coming back to the States in '96, it's not like a cycling world. Like Europe is a cycling world, and it's so set up for cycling. It was like so nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of Oklahoma though was nice. I mean, they had a lot of racing. They had a Tour de Dirt. They still have that series. That's it today. I raced in Texas one time, northern Texas somewhere. Yeah, but that was Germany, Europe. I mean, if you want to go cycling, Europe. That's the place to
No
go.
doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. It's the best.
Yeah.
Now, Lewis, you've ridden your bike in Italy on some pretty cool rides.
Yeah, it was all part of. It was all part of my wife and our 15-year wedding anniversary. We went over there with my buddy Ed, who got me into cycling, and his wife, because they got married exactly 1 month after us. And so, yeah, we did a big Italian vacation, but Ed and I spent some time on the bikes up around Lake Como and in the Dolomites, and just you think you died and gone to cycling heaven up there.
Yeah. Have you guys done, I mean, Jen already mentioned it with a triathlon, but have you guys done cross-training, other endurance sports besides cycling, running, swimming, other stuff? Lewis, have you done any running at all, or are you just a cyclist? Not just a cyclist, but...
Yeah, my left knee doesn't like to run very much. And I just don't, I'll go out for a good walk run, just because every now and again, just to burn a calorie or two. But mountain biking, road cycling, if I'm doing any other endurance thing, I'm probably on an elliptical at the gym.
Yeah, low impact.
There's not a lot of other, when the kids were little, we'd go out and we'd, play soccer and all that kind of, daddy exercise type stuff, but not much of anything else.
Mm-hmm. Jen,
my body doesn't like the impact of running very much anymore.
Yeah, I've always done running for cross training and done some 5Ks and 10Ks, but like the last 3 or 4 years, my feet, just got beat up,
Yeah.
It's so high impact, but.
No, I can totally relate. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. The last 2 years, I've gotten into fitness training, and I actually teach at Gold's Gym. At a local Gold's Gym, I teach weights, and so I do weight training 3 days a week, and do cycling 3 days a week. So those are the two things, and on a downpour, I made a big old sprint to the car in the parking lot, And between those two, between cycling and then regular weight training, I found running to be pretty easy. I was like, wow, I feel a lot faster now that I am in a little bit. I felt like I was in really, really good shape, and so I think I'll probably do another get back into triathlons again. So it's been a couple years since I've done one, but when I was in high school and college, I swam competition, so I used to do the butterfly and the 100. So swimming comes easy. My biggest challenge is actually running. So, but I like to do all different kinds of sports. I like to be really active. But getting into weight training was the best thing that I've ever chosen to do, because I'm getting old, and the weight training definitely helps those aches and pains.
So Jen, you're teaching full-on spin classes at the gym?
Rhett, my husband, he teaches spin, but I teach weights.
Okay.
It's a full body weight class at like 5 in the morning. So that's what I do. But then I'll just take either a cycling class or, depending on the time, go out on the road. Just depends.
I do a fair amount of spinning. My fitness goal for the year is to average a spin class a week. I'd like to, if I can get 52 spin classes in during the year, I'll be thrilled. And I live down here in the flatlands. Our biggest, for me to mountain climb, I got to go find the nearest overpass.
Right.
So
and go back and forth.
And what?
And go back and forth.
Yeah, and go back and forth over and over again. Exactly.
I'm just teasing.
So the only way here, where I live, to really climb is to crank the resistance down on a spin bike. So we get the wind though. When you're cycling into a 30-mile-an-hour wind, it's like you're climbing a mountain.
I've been doing weight training in the wintertime, like for 2 or 3 months. I add weight training. Right now is basically cycling, a little bit of running, not too much. I like hike, run. I walk my dog, a lot. So I got a little bit there, but yeah. So I don't know if it helps or not, but like during the riding season, I like to focus mainly on the bike, and change it up a little bit. Like the longer I do this, the more I do easier days on the bike, and less intensity. And that was part of the reason I think I got burned out on it. I think I was overtraining back in the day, and not eating enough on the bike. That was a big mistake I made. Somebody said I heard somebody say that the biggest mistake cyclists make is they eat too much off the bike and not enough on the bike. And that's what I was doing, I think. But
yeah, I think the habit of always wanting to go fast is something that we oftentimes misconstrue as hard training and not necessarily smart training. Just getting base miles and just turning your legs over for a long time is a real important part of the whole deal.
Yeah, like right now I'm doing like 5 to 6 days a week, and I do one interval type day, and that's usually about 50 minutes, but it's like 20 minutes warm up, maybe 5-10 minutes of cool down, and just maybe 15-20 minutes of actual intervals, and then on Sunday is my long day, so just keep a steady pace. The other days is just pretty light, so.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good balance.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into how does cycling affect your life in general? How does it affect your profession? Mentally, spiritually, that kind of stuff. What do you guys think?
Lewis, I know you've been in cycling for a long time, and it's almost a balance for you. Why don't you go ahead and elaborate? Because I know we've talked about this before. I'd love to hear your perspective.
Well, I was an athlete my whole life, and all the way through college, I was a diver on the swimming and diving team, and had a great career, and Traveled all over the world, and it was an awesome career. So I've always, I think because of my background in being a fit person, I've always been, I'm bent on fitness, and I get to the point where I'm literally unfit to live with if I'm if I'm housebound and if I'm not working out or whatever. For many years I was going to the gym. I played a lot of racquetball, and this is in my post diving life, and I found ways to stay fit or whatever. And then of course when Ed introduced me to cycling, for me it was just exactly it was exactly what I was looking for a lot of reasons. But as far as it does for me, I mean, it keeps me. I think I have a relatively high stress position with work. I travel much more than most anybody would really want to, which means sitting flying coach and sleeping in hotels, and if I'm working out, and I do, I've logged thousands and thousands of miles on stationary bikes in hotels. But it does truly keep me sane, and it keeps me happy. And Jen, you're exactly right. It does give you an opportunity to ponder life and ponder the world. I rarely listen to music anymore. I almost when I'm cycling by myself, I do have earbuds in my ears. In our group, it's not allowed. But when I'm by myself, I do cycle with earbuds, and I listen almost exclusively to podcasts. I've got Gary Tackick's, dentistry podcast, and Shirley Gudkowski's, awesome, daily podcast that she does on dental hygiene and such. And that's when I'm on the bike for hours at a time. Oftentimes I'm listening to that kind of stuff. Sports radio podcasts, I kind of like those too. But yeah, I mean, my wife is notorious for, if I'm a little snappy about something, let's say, she'll be the first to say, you need to go for a bike ride. so she knows what I need, and she knows when I need it.
I heard somebody say a couple of years ago that your hobby, if you have a stressful job and a thinking job, then your hobby needs to be non-thinking in a sense. Like you have to zone out in a sense. And I think that makes sense. Like say you work in a factory and you're doing the same thing over and over again, then your hobby should be something where you think, like be playing chess or something like that, whatever it is. So I think as hygienists and you, Lewis, our job is somewhat stressful a little bit, and there's thinking involved, and dealing with patients every day, and that can be stressful. So I think cycling is a kind of sport like allows you, like I was saying, to meditate on the bike, and so for me that's what it's good for, and I sleep better, that's for sure, with cycling, and just for me it works. And to me, I like having a sport too that I can do by myself if I have to. Like it's way more fun. Like with the club rides, it's awesome. Like being in the Peloton, it's way more fun that way. But it's a sport that you can do by yourself. I used to play tennis a lot years ago, and if you can't find somebody to play, then you can't play. Whereas at least cycling, you can go by yourself if you have to. So
your friend becomes a CO2 cartridge.
Yeah.
If you got a flat, you got to have that CO2 cartridge.
Exactly.
Another aspect that I was talking to one of my doctors, and with dental hygiene, we work in a position that can be ergonomically stressful. And in 2002, I was in a car accident that just it really threw me for a loop, and it made working a challenge. Even now, I have to stay fit in order to be able to live life pain-free. And a lot of hygienists in general, dentists, you have this forward neck posture that's even becoming more popular with technology, hunching over and your neck is forward and low. And a lot of correction in my neck, and the pain has subsided because I get in that position where I am having to hold my upper body, hold my core, and lift my head in a different position, a different angle than what I'm working in. And so, especially in the times where I would commute to and from work, that created a way for my body to kind of correct itself and not only mentally go through the day and just unwind and prepare to take care of my family at home, but correct my body so I could continue to work in less discomfort. So just my spinal position aligning in the bike was really crucial. It still maintains that way. And my doctor confirmed it. He's like, yeah, things are looking great. And so that's just another aspect that I'm really glad that I have a smart husband who got me into cycling.
That's a good point. Yeah, go ahead, Louis.
I was just going to say, I tell you one more thing. One of the things that I personally enjoy about the whole cycling thing is I like being able to eat guilt-free. I have a pretty healthy appetite for somebody my size. I think I eat a lot of food. I wouldn't, I'd be scared to know what I would look like if I didn't do what I do. I mean, I eat healthy. I just eat a lot, and the ability to eat what you want and when you want and enjoy it and be guilt-free while doing it. Yeah, I enjoy that very much.
Very nice. Yeah, I was gonna say that Jen had a good point about that, because hygiene is pretty brutal on the body, or can be over the years. Whether it's cycling or something else, it's very important for hygienists to be physically active and do something. And cycling, I think, it's a good sport, I would say, for hygienists to get into.
Yeah. Not only just active, but correctional. Really.
Right. Yeah. Because the other sports, like I played tennis, that's pretty tough on the body too.
Yes.
Same with running a little bit, but of course football, forget all that. That's damaging. That kind of sport, but. All right. Do you guys have any goals for 2015 that you want? Distance, racing goals or anything like that? Trying something different, or? My goal is to do the metric century this year. Yeah. That's my goal.
Oh, that's a good one.
You'll blow that out of the water.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Just gotta pace myself.
My goals have always been as simple can be. I've always wanted to cycle more miles than I did the previous year. And I did about 3,600 miles last year, which isn't. That's really not all that much when I compare kind of my time in the saddle to the guys that I ride with. But they don't get on airplanes every week like I do either. And if I added in the miles, in hotel stationary bikes, I'd probably be a lot higher. I don't count that. It's only what is on my cyclometer, my computer on my bike is just all that matters. And so. If I can get north of 3,600 in 2015 and average that one spin class a week, that'll be a really good year for me.
Jen, any goals for this year on the bike?
Yeah, I'm going to hit a triathlon in October, and then I'm thinking about maybe trying to do another 70.3. They have one in Boise in June every year. And it's always a great race. I have to have a race, something to train for.
Yeah.
I'm going the weekly schedule, and that's fine. I need a right now.
See, where Jen needs a race, I just need a ride.
Right.
Well, meaning a really, really challenging something that I feel like I need to be ready for. Mark and I Mark and I are going to be in Montana this summer, and we're going to head up to Glacier and climb that amazing Going to the Sun Road up to the top of Glacier National Park, and that's it's darn close to 3 solid hours of climbing. I mean, it's very, very, very hard to get ready for that in Texas,
Right.
where everything is so flat. I've done it twice. My buddy Ed and I did not make it the first time. We made it the second time. We were more prepared. So come May, come May. I mean, I'm going to have to really start thinking about getting ready to make that climb. So that's what I've got. And then Ed and I are planning a West Texas trip in October. We're going to head out to the Davis Mountains of West Texas and do some real challenging rides out there. That'll be fun. So as long as for me there's something to train for, not necessarily a race, but a really, really hard ride, that's good for me.
I've done racing and group rides, and to me it's almost the same feeling. With the club rides, is a very in my club at least is a wide range of talent. There are guys that will blow me away, and there are people that just go really slow. And so whatever pack you end up in, I mean, to me it almost feels like you're in a race in a sense, because you're trying to keep up the whole time.
Oh heck yeah, you're in your pace line and you're going. Yeah, I'm in a very similar situation in our group.
Mm-hmm. So to me, it's kind of a similar feeling. Like during a race, like especially mountain bike race, like after a while, you're like by yourself sometimes. There's nobody behind you, nobody in front of you. You're just pacing yourself. But that's the beauty of the road rides. I think is the group rides, the Peloton. I love that, like the drafting aspect and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool.
No doubt. No, my groups we do have a no drop policy. And there's 5 different levels of rides that go out at any given time. So you're typically with people of your speed and skill level. And there's from novice all the way up to what they call stampede. Those are the hammer group. So yeah, I mean there's again we have these rest stops, and so there's always opportunities for people that have fallen off the back to get back on.
Mm-hmm. How big is your club rides usually? How many people show up typically, Louis?
Well, it's a lot. I mean, if the weather's nice, like it was today. I wasn't there yesterday morning, but I'm sure it was huge. Like probably 80 people going out in 5 different groups.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the group that I ride with is, somewhere between say 14 and 20 guys. And girls, and we have there's some really strong girls that ride with our group, and they're terrific.
Yeah, we get that on the good days. We get like between 100 and 125 people maybe. It's quite a nice group.
That's big. That's really big. And they're all together, one group?
No. Yeah, it's that wide range of talent.
I was gonna say it's like the Tour de France.
Yeah. They always start off with the fast people, and I always go with the fast people to start off, then I just drop back to the next group if I have to.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody's doing the same route.
Yes. Well, no, they have 3 routes usually.
Okay.
Like a typical day is maybe 20 mile, 35 mile, 50 mile. That's typical.
Okay.
Some Sundays they'll have centuries, 100, and maybe 75 or whatever. But typically it's like 20, 35, 50, around that. So sometimes before when I was doing like the 35-mile rides, I'm riding with the guys that are going 50 miles. So that's going to slow them down a little bit.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So I can stay with them a little bit longer. But yeah.
Cool.
It's fun. All right, next thing. Do you guys have a cycling bucket list? I do. I definitely want to go to France before I die and do. I know Trek Travel has their tours that they have, and one of the tours is you can go during the Tour de France actually and ride some of the climbs, and then watch the Tour de France, after.
So what those are? Yeah, I'm real familiar with those because we've looked into doing some of those, and Trek Travel is one of dozens of companies that offers these kind of things, and you typically ride. You're typically 24 hours in front of the tour, and so if they're climbing Alpe d'Huez, you'll be there the day before, and and you're trying to get to the top of Alpe d'Huez, or if they've got, let's say, 120-mile day in the saddle, your group might be riding 50 of that, let's say. My buddy Ed down in Houston, he did that exact tour. He did it through a Canadian touring company, and they were riding 24 hours in front of the tour. They stayed in these pretty nice, posh hotels, and the food was terrific, complete support, the whole bit, and it was something else. I would love to do that too. However, before going to France, there's some, you can do that at the Tour of California, the Amgen Tour of California, and probably the race in Georgia. You can do something similar on these stateside races. The big race in Utah also, and I'm sure they would be gorgeous and hard and fun and a blast, and not near the expense of going over to Europe. When we were over in Italy 5 years ago or so, we were there during the Giro Italia, and we were there for the start, and that was totally awesome. But the days that we rode, we weren't part of the Giro. We just happened to, we were riding up in Como, which was not near the race. But yeah, my bucket list primarily consists of places where I want to go cycle. Not necessarily to get faster or win races or, to average this speed. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm getting older. I'm not getting younger, and getting faster. I just don't know if that's all realistic. For me, it's all about going to really cool places, and cycling in cool places is the best.
Yeah, I definitely want to hit a lot of U.S. places first before I go overseas, but. Like in Montana, obviously, right? That's going to be a nice ride.
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of places out west. I mean, I love the West. I've been to Montana twice. I just love it. I love that state. But like that, just that terrain, like Utah, Idaho, like that kind of terrain. I don't know. It's cool.
It's gorgeous to ride in, as Jen well knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of places. I'm with you there. It's all about the location and who you're with. In the cycling community, it's really opened up a whole new circle of friends that I love. I mean, and so it's really just about being in a place with good people.
They have that mountain bike trail. It's called, what's it called? The Great Divide that goes from Canada to New Mexico. I think it's like 2,700 miles. That would be a nice. Obviously, it'll be a multi-week trip, but that would be cool to do. And the other thing, too, I've always found fascinating is to ride across America, which are probably going to, again, it'll take you, a good 40 days or so, probably, at least. Some of the companies have tours, like guided tours for that, if you want to do that. But, I mean, it's a lot of time taken, to take off and all that, but I always found that just a cool thing to do, just bike every day. For a month. Yeah.
Just got to keep playing that lottery.
Yeah, exactly. Because I did a dental mission in 2007. I went to Peru, and after the dental mission, we did a hiking for 4 days. We did the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. So we hiked for like 8 hours a day up the mountains, up and down. And that was just awesome. I felt so good, like just working out all day, and then you sleep like a baby at night.
Yeah.
In the mountains, camping and stuff. Like, that was so nice. So that kind of thing just is very appealing. But
absolutely.
Someday we'll see. Yeah.
Jen, what about you? Bucket list items?
I guess mine are pretty small compared to going over to France and riding the same route as the Tour de France, but. In Idaho and Montana and Colorado, there's so so much to cover. One of the things that I want to do in the very near future that I haven't done yet is just up in northern Idaho, they have tons of trails, trails of the Coeur d'Alenes. There's one trail called the Hiawatha Trail that I've done before, but you're basically up in the Blue Mountains, and whether you're riding on an old retired train trail, or you're going from Washington over to Montana, crossing Idaho and all of that landscape in between. It's about an 80-mile route, but it's just gorgeous. And so, routes like that, it's all about just, my husband and I are always planning our annual vacations, and it always has to do around cycling, something that we really enjoy, and thinking of who to invite. And so that's, my bucket list is an ongoing, revolving thing. So.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking of doing, Lewis. We have the ADHA annual meeting. So this year I had nothing planned until you invited me to Montana. So I want to do that this year with you. But I was thinking to kind of connect the going to the meetings, no matter what state they're in, just to go, but combine cycling with it. So I don't know where it's going to be next year in 2016.
It's going to be in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, okay, they have hills there. And then the Under One Roof, I don't know, is that always Las Vegas? Is that Las Vegas or?
It was in Chicago last year.
Chicago, okay.
I'm not quite sure where it is in 2016. Maybe DC. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, as I expand what I'm doing here with the podcast and the blog and all that stuff, to maybe, if not get a booth or to promote myself, or just to go basically, and just because when I met you, Lewis, in Boston at the ADHA meeting, first time, and then I went to Yankee this year.
Yeah.
And to me, that was so much better because it was all hygiene, and Yankee is so much stuff that you're like, you're not really interested in, or and so those were like really nice to go to. So since there's two big ones, right? It's the annual meeting, and then Under One Roof is the other one.
Under One Roof's the meeting you want to go to. I mean, they're both great meetings. They truly are. It's just that Under One Roof is more of a big sorority party, as Jen can attest to. It's and the exhibit hours are the kind of hours that, as an exhibitor, you really appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
You got some free time.
Yeah. So go ahead, Jen.
I was just saying, Mark, you could just set up an excursion. People can sign up for it, and you can have like a chairman who is familiar with the area, someone who lives there, and scope out the trail and just help organize, put everybody together. Because I guarantee you, there's other cycling enthusiasts like yourself in the dental community. Lewis, wasn't it you that was telling me that it's become the new golf of the professional world? That cycling is where a lot of deals are done and relationships built, and just like my new experience going to a financial convention with my husband, it was a whole new ball game, and they not only had golf, but like that mountain biking excursions. Different things you could set up. So there's an idea for you, Mark.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll think about that. Yeah.
Easier said than done.
I know Gary Takis, he combined C courses with riding motorcycles.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that'd be interesting. It'd make it fun.
A periodontist here, the CE course, and he takes some river rafting. So you actually have a course that's taught right before you go rafting, and then you hit some rapids, and then there's a smooth part of the river, and then it's like a Q&A session. Then he serves lunch, and because we've got the Piet right there, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting off topic.
That should attract more people to do it, though, I would think. Have something fun like that combined with the course, or have the course outdoors. Right? You can.
Well, one of one of the big things that you've probably seen out there in social media, Bill, these CEs at sea, these CE cruises are seem to be getting very popular. I'm speaking on a cruise ship next month on a dental hygiene. It's being organized out of North Carolina, and I'm one of 4 speakers on that cruise. And then there's another bigger one a couple months later that's being organized by a hygienist by the name of Elijah Desmond. These CE cruises, are getting real popular. And the only reason I bring it up is it kind of goes into what you're saying is combining a CE with something fun that draws people in.
Yeah, because to me it's like a good excuse to just go out and have fun and take a vacation on my own basically.
Oh yeah, and write it off. Absolutely.
Yeah. So. Because you invited me to the Montana thing, and I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let me, let see, ADHA, where are they having their meeting? Let me see.
And Mark, you're referring to that, and I can guarantee that your experience at American Eagle Instruments at the factory there, it's going to be so much more memorable because it's not really, like with CE, it's not what you learn, but it's how you feel. And part of how you feel, I mean, if you're combining that with something that you love, I mean, that's going to trigger a whole new ball game for you, and you will forever remember that experience when you went to go to American Eagle Instruments.
Right. Oh yeah, we're going to have a blast.
Yeah, I'm really jealous.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we can all ride someday somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. We
need to plan that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Idaho, California, wherever.
Wherever it may be. Yep.
All right, so I hit all my questions I had. Do you guys want to add anything about cycling or hygiene and cycling or dental and cycling? Anything?
I would add, I would add those that are listening to this podcast that don't cycle and think there might be a little bit of interest there in getting started, the first thing you do is you go to your local bike shop. And, you start asking questions about, how does one get into cycling? And that's where the pros are. Those are the folks that know what you need and how to be safe. And, come on out. We'd love to have you. The more there are of us, the more visible we are, and the safer it is for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't buy a cheap bike. Yeah, don't go. Go to a bike shop because spend at least, I would say. I mean, you can get. If you want to start with a hybrid bike or something like that, you can get a nice bike for like $400 or $500. Like a decent hybrid bike, just to ride. But don't spend $100, $200 on a bike because it's not going to be good. Yeah.
Walmart is not the place to get your bike when you're getting into cycling.
Right. I was once upon a time told, spend your money on 2 important things: your cycling shorts,
yes,
and a good pair of sunglasses. Those are the 2 things that you need to make sure that you've invested wisely in those 2 things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say also, if you go to the local bike shop, they're probably going to know about the clubs in the area and that kind of thing. And to me, it's always been way more fun to ride in the group.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so much more fun.
Yeah, and our group has beginner classes all the time. Mm-hmm. There's always people getting into the sport and that don't know anything about group riding and don't know anything about clipless pedals, and that's exactly what those groups are for. And that person that's leading that group is basically a teacher, not necessarily a ride leader, but more of a cycling coach, cycling teacher. And I endorse that totally. And most of these club rides are based out of a bike shop. That's been my experience in my area, anyway.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you want to get better, it's always, to go with a big group. They're gonna push you to be a better cyclist too. If you're by yourself, and you want to get better and maybe race someday, it's tough to train by yourself all the time. But you have to be pushed by other people.
I know.
And bonk every now and then.
Yes.
Not too many times, I hope.
Yeah, no, only a few times. Yeah. I bonked so bad one time in Oklahoma. It was a 38-mile race. It was an actual race, I'm right. And I was in second place with a guy that was in my club, and we're going by ourselves, going. We took a wrong turn, so we were off track by like a mile. We had to turn around, and we chased the pack again, and we caught them again. So now it was like a 40-mile race. It got longer and longer as we went along, and I pushed myself way too much, and that was the worst I ever felt in my life. Like the last 2 or 3 miles, I totally was out of it, like completely out of it. My vision was going. I was so out of it, and it was like very blurry vision. I had like a mile to go. I got to the finish line. I grabbed an orange. I ate it, and my vision came right back.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just felt good. But that was the worst bonk I ever had. But it was a hot day, 100 degrees. It's just yeah. So pace yourself, people. Yeah.
Again, cycling, the perfect excuse to eat whatever you want.
That's right. I
Absolutely.
had that orange, I had a banana, I had a Gatorade, I had a cookie, and then I was like, then I was feeling good. Yeah. All right. All right, guys. So thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I know this is like a kind of a different topic, but I mean, it's not going to be a cycling podcast. But I love cycling so much. I just wanted to at least have one episode about cycling.
Terrific. Love being a part of it.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
It was fun. It was fun. Thanks for inviting me.
All right, guys. Thank you. I want to close off.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, you
All
too.
right, bye.